Salient features of the Constitution. The Indian Constitution is unique in its contents and spirit. Though borrowed from almost every constitution of the world, the Constitution of India has several salient features that distinguish it from the constitution of other countries. It should be noted at the outset that a number of original features of the Constitution, as adopted in 1949, have undergone a substantial change on account of the several amendments, particularly 7th, 42nd, 44th, 73, 74th Amendments. In fact, the 42nd Amendment Act 1976 is known as the mini constitution due to the important and large number of changes made by it in various parts of the constitution. However, in the case for Nanda Bharti case 1973, Supreme Court ruled that the constituent power of the parliament under Article 368 does not enable it to alter the basic structure of the constitution. Salient features of the Constitution. The salient features: first, lengthiest written constitution. Written like the American Constitution or unwritten, constitutions are classified into written like the American Constitution or unwritten like the British Constitution. It is very comprehensive, elaborate and detailed document. Originally 1949, it contains 395 articles divided into 22 parts and 8 schedules. In 2013, 465 articles into 25 parts and 12 schedules. The various amendments carried out since 1951 have deleted about 20 articles and one part, that is part 7, and added about 85 articles, 4 parts, 4A, 9A, 9B, 14A, and 4 schedules, 9, 10, 11, 12. 4 parts, 4A, 9A, 9B, and 14A. No other constitution in the world has so many articles and schedules. 4 factors have contributed to the elephantine size of our constitution. They are geographical factors, that is, the vastness of the country and its diversity. Historical factors, example, influence of the Government of India Act of 1935, which was bulky. Single constitution for both the center and the states, except J and K, which is now repealed. D. Dominance of legal luminaries in the Constituent Assembly. The Constitution contains not only the fundamental principles of governance but also detailed administrative provisions. Further, those matters which in other modern democratic countries have been left to the ordinary legislation or established political conventions have also been included in the constitutional document itself in India. Second, drawn from various sources. Dr. B.R. Ambedkar proudly acclaimed that the Constitution of India has been formed after ransacking all the known constitutions of the world. The structural part of the Constitution is to a large extent derived from the Government of India Act of 1935. The philosophical part of the Constitution, the fundamental rights and DPSPs, derive their inspiration from the American and the Irish Constitution respectively, that is FRs from America and DPSP from Irish Constitution. The political part of the Constitution, that is the principle of the cabinet government and the relations between the executive and the legislature, have been largely drawn from the British Constitution. The other provisions of the Constitution have been drawn from the Constitution of Canada, Australia, Germany, Russia, France, South Africa, Japan, and so on. However, the criticism that the Indian Constitution is a borrowed constitution, a patchwork, and contains nothing new, and originally is unfair and illogical. This is because the framers of the Constitution made necessary modifications in the features borrowed from other constitutions for their suitability to the Indian conditions, at the same time avoiding their faults. Third point, blend of rigidity and flexibility. The Constitution of India is neither rigid nor flexible, but a synthesis of both. Article 368 provides for 2 types of amendments. First, some provisions can be amended by a special majority of the parliament, that is, a 2/3 majority of the members of each house present and voting, and a majority that is more than 50% of the total membership of each house. Second, some other provisions can be amended by a special majority of the parliament and with the ratification by half of the total states. At the same time, some provisions of the Constitution can be amended by a simple majority of the parliament in the manner of ordinary legislation process. Notably, these amendments do not come under Article 368. Fourth, federal system with unitary bias. The Constitution of India establishes the federal system of government. It contains all the usual features of the federation with two government, division of powers, written constitution, supremacy of constitution, rigidity of constitution, independent judiciary, and bicameralism. However, the Indian constitution also contains a large number of unitary or non-federal features with a strong center, single constitution, single citizenship, flexibility of constitution, integrated judiciary, appointment of state governor by the center, all India services, emergency provisions, and so on. Moreover, the term federation has nowhere been mentioned, has nowhere been used in the constitution. Article 1 of the India, on the other hand, described India as union of states, which implies two things. One, the Indian federation is not the result of an agreement by the states, and two, no state has the right to secede from the federation. Hence, the Indian constitution has been variously described as federal in form but unitary in spirit, quasi-federal by K.C. Weir, bargaining federalism by Morris Jones, and cooperative federalism by Granville Austin, federation with a centralizing tendency by Ivor Jennings, and so on. Parliamentary form of government. Fifth point. The Constitution of India has opted for the British parliamentary system of government rather than American presidential system of government. The parliamentary system is based on the principle of cooperation and coordination between the legislative and executive organs, while the presidential system is based on the doctrine of separation of powers between the two organs. The parliamentary system is also known as the Westminster model of government, responsible government and cabinet government. The Constitution establishes the parliamentary system not only at the center but also in the states. The features of the parliamentary government in India are, that is, presence of nominal and real executives, majority party rule, collective responsibility of the executive to the legislature, membership of the ministers in the legislature, leadership of the prime minister or the chief minister, dissolution of the lower house, that is Lok Sabha or assembly. Even though the Indian parliamentary system is largely based on the British pattern, there are some fundamental differences between the two. For example, the Indian Parliament is not a sovereign body like the British Parliament. Further, the Indian state has an elected head, that is republic, while the British state has hereditary head, that is monarchy. In the parliamentary system, whether in India or Britain, the role of the prime minister has become so significant and crucial that the political scientists like to call it a prime ministerial government. Synergies of parliamentary sovereignty and judicial supremacy. The doctrine of the sovereignty of the parliament is associated with the British Parliament, while the principle of judiciary supremacy with that of the American Supreme Court. Just as the Indian parliamentary system differs from the British system, the scope of the judicial review power of the Supreme Court in India is narrower than that of what exists in US. This is because the American Constitution provides for due process of the law against that of the procedure established by the law contained in the Indian Constitution, Article 21. Therefore, the framers of the Indian Constitution have preferred a proper synthesis between the British principle of parliamentary sovereignty and the American principle of judicial supremacy. The Supreme Court, on the other hand, can declare the parliamentary laws as unconstitutional through its power of judicial review. The Parliament, on the other hand, can amend the major portion of the Constitution through its constitutional power. Integrated and independent judiciary. The Indian Constitution establishes a judicial system that is integrated as well as independent. The Supreme Court stands at the top of the integrated judicial system in the country. Below it, there are high courts at the state level. Under a high court, there is a hierarchy of subordinate courts, that is, district courts and other lower courts. This single system of courts enforces both the central laws as well as the state laws. Unlike in USA, where the federal laws are enforced by the federal judiciary and the state laws are enforced by the state judiciary. The Supreme Court is a federal court, the highest court of appeal, the guarantor of the fundamental rights of the citizens, and the guardian of the Constitution. Hence, the Constitution has made various provisions to ensure its independence, security of tenure of judges, fixed services conditions for the judges, all the expenses of the Supreme Court charged on the Consolidated Fund of India, prohibition on discussion on the conduct of judges in the legislatures, ban on practices after retirement, power to punish for its contempt vested in the Supreme Court, separation of judiciary from the executive, and so on. 8th Fundamental Right. Part 3 of the Indian Constitution guarantees 6 fundamental rights to all the citizens. Right to equality from Article 14 to 18. Right to freedom from Article 19 to 22. Right against exploitation from 23 to 24. Right to freedom of religion from Article 25 to 28. Cultural and educational rights Article 29 and 30. And the right to constitutional remedies Article 32. The fundamental rights are meant for promoting the idea of political democracy. They operate as limitations on the tyranny of the executive and arbitrary laws of the legislature. They are justiciable in nature, that is, they are enforceable by the courts for their violation. The aggrieved person can directly go to Supreme Court, which can issue the writs of habeas corpus, mandamus, prohibition, certiorari, and quo warranto for the restoration of his rights. However, the fundamental rights are not absolute and subject to reasonable restrictions. Further, they are not sacrosanct and can be curtailed or replaced by the Parliament through a Constitutional Amendment Act. They can also be suspended during the operation of the national emergency except the rights granted under Article 20 and 21. DPSPs. According to Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, DPSP is a novel feature of the Indian Constitution. They are enumerated in the Part 4 of the Constitution. They can be classified into three broad categories: socialistic, Gandhian, and liberal intellectual. The directive principles are meant for promoting the ideal of social and economic democracy, socio-economic democracy. They seek to establish a welfare state in India. However, unlike the fundamental rights, the directives are not justiciable in nature. That is, they are not enforceable by the courts for their violation. Yet, the Constitution itself declares that these principles are the fundamental in the governance of the country, and it shall be the duty of the state to apply these principles in making laws. Hence, they impose a moral obligation on the state authorities for their application. But the real force that is sanctioned behind them is political, that is, public opinion. In the Minerva Mills case in 1980, Supreme Court held that the Indian Constitution is founded on the bedrock of the balance between the fundamental rights and DPSP. 10th point, fundamental duties. The original Constitution did not provide for the fundamental duties of the citizens. They were added during the operation of the internal emergency 1975 to 77 by 47 Constitutional Amendment Act of 1976 on the recommendations of the Swaran Singh Committee. The 86th Constitutional Amendment Act of 2002 added one more fundamental duty, the Part 4A of the Constitution, which contains only one article, that is 51A, specifies the 11 fundamental duties, that is to respect the Constitution, national flag and national anthem, to protect the sovereignty, unity and integrity of the country, to promote the spirit of common brotherhood amongst all the people, to preserve the rich heritage of our composite culture, and so on. The fundamental duties serve as a reminder to citizens that while enjoying their rights, they have also to be conscious of duties they owe to their country, their society, and to the fellow citizens. However, like the DPSPs, the duties are also non-justiciable in nature. 11th, secular state. The Constitution of India stands for a secular state. Hence, it does not uphold any particular religion as the official religion of the Indian state. The following provisions of the Constitution reveal the secular character of the Indian state. The term secular was added to the preamble of the Indian Constitution by 47 Constitutional Amendment Act of 1976. The preamble secures to all the citizens of India liberty of belief, faith, and worship. The state shall not deny to any person equality before the law or equal protection of the laws. Article 14. The state shall not discriminate against any citizen on the ground of religion. Article 15. Equality of opportunity for all the citizens in matters of public employment. Article 16. All persons are equally entitled to freedom of conscience and the right to freely profess, practice, and propagate any religion. Article 25. Every religious denomination of or any of its section shall have the right to manage its religious affairs. Article 26. No person shall be compelled to pay any taxes for the promotion of a particular religion. Article 27. No religious instruction shall be provided in any educational institution mandated by the state. Article 28. Any section of the citizen shall have the right to conserve its distinct language, script, or culture. Article 29. All minorities shall have the right to establish and administer educational institutions of their choice. Article 30. The state shall endeavour to secure for all the citizens a uniform civil code. Article 44. The Western concept of secularism connotes a complete separation between the religion and the state. This negative concept of secularism is inapplicable in the Indian situation where the society is multi-religious. Hence, the Indian Constitution embodies the positive concept of secularism, that is, giving equal respect to all the religions or protecting all religious religions equally. Moreover, the Constitution has also abolished the old system of communal representation, that is, reservation of seats in the legislature on the basis of the religion. However, it provides for the temporary reservation of seats for the scheduled castes and scheduled tribes to ensure adequate representation to them. Universal adult franchisee. The Indian Constitution adopts universal adult franchisee as a basis of elections to the Lok Sabha and the state legislative assemblies. Every citizen who is not less than 18 years of age has a right to vote without any discrimination of caste, race, religion, sex, illiteracy, wealth, and so on. The voting age, which was reduced to 18 years from 21 years in 1989 by the 61st Constitutional Amendment Act, of 1988. The introduction of the universal adult franchisee by constitutional makers was a bold experiment and highly remarkable in view of the vast size of the country, its huge population, high poverty, social inequality, and overwhelming illiteracy. Universal adult franchisee make democracy broad-based, enhances the self-respect and prestige of common people, uphold the principles of equality, enables minorities to protect their interests, and open up new hopes and vistas for weaker sections. Single citizenship. Though the Indian Constitution is federal and envisages a dual polity, that is central and states, it provides for only a single citizenship, that is Indian citizenship. In countries like USA, on the other hand, each person is not only a citizen of India but also citizen of a particular state to which he belongs. Thus, he owes allegiance to both and enjoys dual set of rights, one conferred by the national government and another by the state government. In India, all citizens, irrespective of the state in which they are born or reside, enjoy the same political and civil rights of citizenship all over the country, and no discrimination is made between them excepting in few cases like tribal areas, Jammu and Kashmir, and so on. Despite the constitutional provisions for a single citizenship and uniform rights for all the people, India has been witnessing the communal rights, class conflicts, caste wars, linguistic clashes, and ethnic disputes. This means that the cherished goal of the constitution makers to build an united and integrated Indian nation has not been fully realized. 14th point. Independent bodies. The Indian Constitution not only provides for the legislative, executive, and judicial organs of the government, that is central and states, but also establishes certain independent bodies. They are envisaged by the Constitution as the bulwarks of the democratic system of the government in India. These are Election Commission to ensure free and fair elections to the Parliament, the state legislature, the Office of the President of India, and the Office of the Vice President of India, the CAG of India, the CAG of India, to audit the accounts of the central and the state governments. He acts as the guardian of the public purse and comments on the legality and propriety of government expenditure. UPSC to conduct examinations for recruitment to all India services and higher central services, and to advise the President on disciplinary matters. State Public Service Commission in every state to conduct examinations for recruitment to the state services and to advise the Governor on disciplinary matters. The Constitution ensures the independence of these bodies through various provisions like security of tenure, fixed service conditions, expenses being charged on the Consolidated Fund of India, and so on. Fifth, emergency provisions. The Indian Constitution contains elaborate emergency provisions to enable the President to meet any extraordinary situation effectively. The rationality behind the incorporation of these provisions is to safeguard the sovereignty, unity, integrity, and security of the country, the democratic political system, and the Constitution. The Constitution envisages three types of emergencies, namely national emergency on the ground of war or external aggression or armed rebellion, Article 352. State emergency, that is President's rule, on the ground of failure of constitutional machinery of the state, Article 356, or failure to comply with the directions of the center, Article 365. And third, financial emergency on the ground of threat to the financial stability or credit of India, Article 360. During an emergency, the central government becomes all powerful and the states go into the total control of the center. It converts the federal structure into a unitary one without a formal amendment of the Constitution. This kind of transformation of the political system from federal during normal times to unitary during emergency is a unique feature of the Indian Constitution. 3-tier government. Originally, the Indian Constitution, like any other federal constitution, provides for a dual polity and contained provisions with regard to the organization and powers of center and the states. Later, the 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment Acts 1992 have added a third tier of government, that is local, which is not found in any other constitution of the world. The 73rd Amendment Act of 1992 gave constitutional recognition to the panchayats, that is rural local government, by adding a new part 9 and a new schedule 11 to the constitution. Similarly, the 74th Amendment Act of 1992 gave constitutional recognition to the municipalities, that is urban local government, by adding a new part 9A and a new schedule 12 to the constitution. Subject matter: Union and its territory. Article 1 to 4, Part 1 and Part 2, Citizenship. Article 5 to 11. Part 3, Fundamental Rights. Article 12 to 35. Part 4, DPSPs. Article 36 to 51. Part 4A, Fundamental Duties. Article 51A. Part 5, Union Government. Article 52 to 151. Chapter number 1, the Executive. Chapter number 2, the Parliament. Chapter number 3, the Legislative Powers of the President. Chapter number 4, the Union Judiciary. And chapter number 5, the CAG. So the chapter number 1, the Executive, 52 to 78. Chapter number 2, the Parliament, 79 to 122. The chapter number 3, Legislative Powers of the President, Article 123. Chapter number 4, the Union Judiciary, Article 124 to 147. Chapter number 5, CAG of India, Article 148 to 151. Part 6, the State Governments. Chapter number 1, General, 152, Article 152. And the state governments from Article 152 to 237. Chapter number 1, General, Article 152. Chapter number 2, the Executive, Article 153 to 167. Chapter number 3, the State Legislature, Article 168 to 212. Chapter number 4, Legislative Powers of the Governor, Article 213. Chapter number 5, the High Courts, Article 214 to 232. Chapter number 6, the Subordinate Courts, Article 233 to 237. Part 8, the Union Territories, Article 239 to 242. Part 9, the Panchayats, 243 to 243O. Part 9A, the Municipalities, 249 243P to 243ZG. Part 9B, the Cooperative Societies, 243ZH to 243ZT. Part 10, the Scheduled and Tribal Areas, 244 to 244A. Part 11, Relations between the Union and the States, Article 245 to 263. Chapter number 1, the Legislative Relations, Article 245 to 255. And chapter number 2, Administrative Relations, Article 256 to 263. Chapter number 12, Finance, Property, Contracts and Suits, from Article 264 to 300A. Chapter number 1, Finance, 264 to 291. Chapter number 2, Borrowing, 292 to 293. Chapter number 3, Property, Contracts, Rights, Liabilities, Obligations and Suits, Article 294 to 300. And chapter number 4, Right to Property, under Article 300A. Now part 13, Trade, Commerce and Intercourse within the Territory of India, 301 to 307. Part 14, Services under the Union and the States, 308 to 323. Chapter number 1, Services, 308 to 314. Chapter number 2, Public Service Commissions, 315 to 323. Part 14A, Tribunals, 323A, 323A to 323B. Part 14A, 323A to 323B, Tribunals. Part 15, Elections, Article 324 to 329A. Part 16, Special Provisions relating to certain classes, 330 to 342. Part 17, Official Language, 343 to 351. Chapter number 1, Language of the Union, 343, 344. Chapter number 2, Regional Languages, 345 to 347. Chapter number 3, Language of the Supreme Court, High Court and so 340 to 349. Chapter number 4, Special Directives, 350 to 351. Part number 18, Emergency Provisions, 352 to 360. Chapter number 19, Miscellaneous, 361 to 367. Part 20, Amendment of the Constitution, 368. Part 21, temporary transition and special provisions, Article 369 to 392. Part 22, short titled commencement authoritative text in Hindi and repeals, 393 to 395. Schedules of the Constitution at a glance. First schedule: name of the state and their territorial jurisdiction, name of the union territories and their extent. In second schedule, provisions relating to the emoluments, allowances, privileges, and so on, and so on and so off. President of India, President of India, the Governor of the states, the Speaker and the Deputy Speaker of the Lok Sabha, and the Chairman and the Deputy Chairman of the Rajya Sabha. The Speaker and Deputy Speaker of the Legislative Assembly in the states, the Chairman and the Deputy Chairman of the Legislative Council in the states, the Judges of the Supreme Court, the Judges of the High Court, the CAG. Third schedule: forms of oaths or affirmations. For the Union Minister, the candidates for election to the Parliament, the members of the Parliament, the Judges of the Supreme Court, the CAG, these state ministers, the candidates for election to the state legislature, the members of the state legislature, the judges of the high courts. Article 75, 84, 99, 124, 146, 173, 182, 19. Fourth schedule: allocation of seats in the Rajya Sabha to the states and the union territories, Article 4 and 80. Fifth schedule: provisions relating to the administration and control of scheduled areas and scheduled tribes, Article 244. Sixth schedule: provisions relating to the administration and tribal areas in the states of Assam, Meghalaya, Tripura, Mizoram, Article 242, 244 to 275. Seventh schedule: division of powers between the union and the states in terms of list 1, that is union list, list 2, that is state list, and list 3, that is concurrent list. Presently, the union list contains 100 subjects, state list 61, and the concurrent 52. Article 246. Seventh schedule, Article 246. Eighth schedule, Article 344 and 351. Languages recognized by the Constitution. Originally, it had about 14 languages, but presently there are 22 languages. They are Assamese, Bengali, Bodo, Dogri, Gujarati, Hindi, Kannada, Kashmiri, Konkani, Maithili, Malayalam, Manipuri, Marathi, Nepali, Oriya, Punjabi, Sanskrit, Santhali, Sindhi, Tamil, Telugu, and Urdu. No English in here. Sindhi was added by the 21st Amendment Act of 1967. Konkani, Manipuri, and Nepali by 71st Amendment Act of 1992. Bodo, Dogri, and Maithili and Santhali by 92nd Amendment Act of 2003. Ninth schedule, Article 331b. The acts and regulations of the state legislatures dealing with land reforms and abolition of zamindari system, and of the Parliament dealing with other matters. This schedule was added by the First Amendment Act of 1951 to protect the laws included in it from judicial scrutiny on the ground of violation of fundamental rights. However, in 2007, Supreme Court ruled that the laws included in this schedule and after 24 April 1973 are now open to judicial review. 10th schedule, Article 102 and 191. Provision relating to disqualification of the members of the Parliament and state legislature on the ground of defection. This schedule was added by the 52nd Amendment Act of 1985, also known as Anti-Defection Law. 11th schedule, Article 243G. 11th schedule specifies the powers, authority, and responsibilities of the panchayats. It has 29 matters. This schedule was added by 73rd Amendment Act of 1992. 12th schedule, Article 243W, specifies the powers, authority, and responsibility of the municipalities. It has 18 matters. This schedule was added by 74th Amendment Act of 1992. Sources of the Constitution at a glance. First, Government of India Act of 1935. Federal Scheme, Office of Governor, Judiciary, Public Service Commission, Emergency Provisions, and Administrative Details. So, Government of India, from Government of India 1935, and they borrowed Federal Scheme, Office of Governor, Judiciary, Public Service Commissions, Emergency Provisions, and Administrative Details. Now from British Constitution, they borrowed parliamentary government, rule of law, legislative procedures, single citizenship, cabinet system, prerogative rights, parliamentary privileges, and bicameralism. So again, from British Constitution, they borrowed parliamentary government, rule of the law, legislative procedure, single citizenship, cabinet system, prerogative rights, parliamentary privileges, and bicameralism. From US Constitution, fundamental rights, independence of judiciary, judicial review, impeachment of the president, removal of the Supreme Court and High Court judges, and post of the vice president. Again from US, FRs, independence of judiciary, judicial review, impeachment of president, removal of Supreme Court and High Court judges, and post of vice president. From Irish Constitution, DPSP, nomination of members to the Rajya Sabha and method of election of the president. Again from Irish Constitution, DPSP's nomination of the members to the Rajya Sabha and method of election of the president. From Canadian Constitution, federation with a strong center, vesting of residuary powers in the center, appointment of state governors by the center, and advisory jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. Again from the Canadian Constitution, federation with a strong center, vesting of residuary powers in the center, appointment of state governors by the center, and advisory jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. Now from Australian Constitution, concurrent list, freedom of trade, commerce and intercourse, and joint sitting of the two houses of the parliament. Again from Australian Constitution, concurrent list, freedom of trade, commerce and intercourse, and joint sitting of two houses of the parliament. From the Weimar Constitution of Germany, suspension of fundamental rights during emergency. From Soviet Constitution, USSR, now Russia, fundamental duties and the ideal of justice, that is social, economic and political in the preamble. Again from Russia, fundamental duties and ideals of justice, social, economic and political in the preamble. From the French Constitution, republic and the ideals of liberty, equality and fraternity in the preamble. Again from the French republic and the ideals of liberty, equality and fraternity in the preamble. From the South African Constitution, procedure for the amendment of the Constitution and election of the members of the Rajya Sabha. Again from South Africa, procedure for the amendment of the Constitution and election of the members of the Rajya Sabha, and an election of the members of the Rajya Sabha, and the member nomination of the members of the Rajya Sabha from the Irish Constitution, election of the members of the Rajya Sabha from the South African Constitution, and nomination of the members of the Rajya Sabha from the Irish Constitution. Now Japanese Constitution, from Japanese procedure established by the law, from Japanese procedure established by the law.